Citadel football press conference. It's been a while since we've done this, but with us today is senior quarterback Dom Allen and sophomore defensive end Jalen Williams, our two cadet athletes here with us this afternoon. But good to be back. It's been 3 weeks since we've had one of these because of Hurricane Irma and some shuffled games. But good to get back in the flow of things. We'll have one of these every Tuesday at noon here in this same spot until the season is over. Bulldogs jumped up in the polls. In one poll, they're now number 8 in the Stats Media poll and number 11 in the FCS Coaches poll. Currently on a 9-game SoCon winning streak heading into Saturday's game at Samford, regular season winning streak heading into Saturday's game at Samford, 3 o'clock kick in Birmingham, Alabama. Those of you that have needs for those games as far as photos, video, let us know and we'll try to accommodate to make sure you have what you need for this weekend. But I'm going to ask head coach Brent Thompson to come to the podium now, give an opening statement, and then we'll take questions.
Thank you, Zeke. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming out. It's been a couple weeks. It's been a nice couple weeks, actually, to where we've been able to take a little bit of a bye weekend last weekend and watched a couple of things unfold in the conference. I thought the conference kind of played out a little bit unusual this last week as we saw a very, very good ETSU team that I thought we played last 2 weeks ago go ahead and defeat a good Mercer team in overtime. And then, of course, the opponent that we've got this week, we saw Samford and Western go at it in a pretty good offensive battle, that's for sure. And then you saw your typical Wofford was doing a good job of being able to finish the game in the end right there. And then Furman did a good job of representing the conference and going up to the Patriot League in a very tough place to play, as I've been there before up in Hamilton, New York at Colgate. So interesting week. Going back to 2 weeks ago, the ETSU game, it was a game, as most of you know, we struggled a little bit in the first half. And we did things that were probably not very typical of us over the past 3 years. Turned the ball over, had a couple of penalties in there, had a couple of special teams mistakes in there, and things that we can't usually do and win football games. I was extremely proud of the way that we played in the second half. I was extremely proud of the way that our defense played in the first half. If it wasn't for our defensive efforts in the first half, we wouldn't have been in that football game. We probably would have given up between 14 and 17 points. So very typical of the way that we've played and very typical of the way that we've won football games is hanging in there defensively, being able to grind out and control the ball, control the clock on offense, and that's exactly what we did in the second half. Found a few adjustments in the halftime. Found our second wind and put together some really nice drives in the second half and rattled off about 17 points in the third and the fourth quarter there. So it ended up being a good win for us at the end of the day, and I thought I was really proud of the way the guys handled, and they handled a lot of adversity over the previous 9 days coming out of a Presbyterian game, going on the road, practicing on the road, going back home, and then heading back up to ETSU. We are certainly looking forward to this week's game. From here on out, all these games are going to be very, very good. They're going to be very difficult. All Southern Conference games. The conference is wide open at this point. Samford is extremely good on offense. They're extremely talented. They have some really good playmakers. The quarterback, offensive player of the year last year, McKnight at wide receiver, has a ton of catches, has a lot of yards. What's even more impressive about him is the way that he returns punts. We've got to be very, very cautious of our punt game. He can take one to the house. And if you don't watch out and you don't fit a gap right on the kickoff team or the punt team, you're going to have an open seam right there. And they've scored a couple times on special teams. So we've got our work cut out for us in that regard. We've been working hard over the last 2 weeks on our special teams, trying to clean up some of the errors from the weeks before in the ETSU game. So I don't foresee us having any problems there. Defensively, I don't think last week's game was was indicative. I thought Western has the best offense in the conference, so it's a good offensive football team. Western is. The defense is extremely talented. They're big and fairly talented up front, and then they do a good job of playing you. And they've played this offense for probably about 7 or 8 years straight now with Georgia Southern, the Citadel, and some Wofford. So they've seen it quite a few times. They know what they're doing against it. We've got to do a good job of being physical. We've got to be physical at the point of attack. We've got to continue to keep them in front of us. Don't give up the big plays. We know that they're going to get yards. They're a good offensive team. And then, of course, offensively, we just got to hang on to the ball, stay on the field, operate, and execute our offense. We don't need to do anything differently. Last week, we took a few days off, which was nice. We gave the players Sunday off, which isn't traditional on an off week for us. So we gave them Sunday off. We gave them Monday off of last week. We practiced pretty good Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then I cut them loose for Friday and Saturday. So we should be refreshed, ready to go. And I thought that was very important coming off that 9-day stretch where we were displaced for a couple of those days. So Came back Sunday. I thought we had a good practice on Sunday. We saw a lot of fresh legs out there and anxious to get back out on the field. So I think we're back being a hungry football team, and we got exactly what we needed out of the bye week. Questions?
Coach, Brandon Berry took his redshirt off against East Tennessee State. How do you see him fitting in now going forward?
We've got to make use of him now. We took the red shirt off of him. It was by design. I thought that ETSU game was fitting for him. We needed a guy that carried a little bit more of a bigger load in there. ETSU was doing a good job of keeping their linebackers in, so we really had to match a B-back against their linebackers and really put a little bit of a force behind our B-backs, where Brandon's about 205 pounds and did a good job, but I thought we needed to give him a little bit of a break. Brandon Rainey, that is. From here on out, though, is we've got to find and make use of him, and he'll get better throughout the year. I liken it a lot to the situation we were in with Isaiah Smith. As soon as we decided to play him his freshman year, we had to play him a lot, and he split time that year with Tyler Renew. So you'll see him and Brandon mostly back there, and then Lorenzo Ward will kind of take up the Evan McField role of being a third and mixing in a little bit with the ones and twos. I feel very comfortable with all of them. Experience is the key to getting all of them through the games, and I think we'll be better off if we do play all three of them.
Zeke mentioned you guys are up to 8 in the polls. How much do you pay attention to that at this point in the season? And what do you tell your guys about scoreboard watching, if you will?
You know, we don't pay attention to it at all. The only thing I say to my players is the only ranking that matters is that last one. Because right now, it really probably weeks 1 through about 7 or 8, they all kind of start to unfold, and there's teams out there that were unranked and they're starting to come up the ranks. Western may be one of those teams that may start to need to be ranked. So all we need to do is really worry about ourselves, don't worry about our rankings, and that'll all sort out at the end of the year. And really our main concern right now is where our ranking is in the Southern Conference. And right now we're 1-0, and hopefully by the end of this week we can be 2-0 in the conference.
Talked about the fresh legs coming back after that chaotic 2-week stretch. I mean, you lose a home game, everything. How did the bye week timing work out for this football team?
I don't think it could have been any better. It would have been very difficult. We would have had to do some things differently if we had to play last week. But really, I told the players going into last week's game is let's just get to the bye week. Let's be 3-0 going into the bye week. We'll take Sunday off, and I promise you this is we will get our legs back over the bye week, and that's what we did over the last 7 or 8 days. I think we only practiced 3 or 4 days, so that's one thing that helps our guys out, help them get mentally back into it more than anything. I think the mental aspect of what the getting on the bus, getting off the bus, not having a home, that takes the bigger toll on you than it does physically. When you get back, we're at the time really where offensively and defensively we've been doing it for so long that when you get back, you've got to get after it pretty good on. And I thought we did on Sunday. Our goal was to get ahead on Sunday. So instead of doing a typical helmet practice, we did a shells practice to try to get ourselves a couple periods ahead. But we will try to nub our practices down and try to get our legs back again later on in the week. So there's a little bit of a balance. And as the head coach, you need to have the pulse of the whole team at all times, and I thought that we did a good job of laying off of them, and it was what we needed last week.
Brent, can you tell us about Jalen Williams, his development over the last couple of years, and did you see this sort of breakout performance coming?
Well, yes and no. If you would have asked me in my first 2 years, because I saw him quite a bit on the defensive scout team, I would have said he was a long ways away from it, but he developed himself on the football field and in the weight room to put himself in the position that he's at right now. He made himself a physical football player. He made himself a more dominating football player. He's always had a great attitude, no matter whether he was on the scout team or the starting defense. He's had a great attitude anytime that he comes to work. So we knew that he had it in him. We just had to get it out of him. And once we've got it out of him, that's a tribute to Coach Tesh, the old D-line coach, and our new D-line coach, Coach Ward. They've done a great job of developing him as well as a lot of our other defensive linemen. And as you know, at the Citadel, we're a developmental program, and we've got to take guys like Jalen and make them into good, solid, physical football players.
How important will be, keeping the ball away from Devlin Hodges this weekend? How big will that be?
That'll be huge. They can score at will for the most part. I happened to just catch the last drive last week against against Western, and they covered 96 yards or so in a matter of about 30 to 40 seconds, which is a little bit scary. So that's why I said we've got to keep them in front of us. We've also got to keep them off the field and keep the ball out of his hands. And I've already said that to the offense, and that's, talking to Dom over there, who's been our senior leader on the offensive side, is he knows what we've got to do on offense to be able to maintain possession of the ball. I feel very capable of the ball in his hands at this point. We've just got to make smart decisions and try to keep on getting first downs.
You talked about the results in the league last week. Wofford has won 2 conference games by 2 points, and Mercer's lost 2 by 4 points. Is it going to be that way week in and week out, do you think, in the league this year?
Yeah, I get that feeling. And then you look at the Chattanooga game, and, Chattanooga had a rough go of it early. That's 3 very good football teams, and I saw them. Tennessee Martin's a good football team, and that was kind of the team that I didn't know what it was going to be like. So being Ted Martin's a good football team, you don't know how good Chattanooga is, and they put a lot of points up on VMI last week. So that's a dark horse right now, but everybody knows that could be a good football team. They're very, very talented. They get the quarterback back. So between Chattanooga, Wofford, they play ball control offense. They play extremely good defense. Mercer's they're not going to sneak up on anybody, but they're going to win their fair share. ETSU's going to win their fair share. And then Sanford's extremely talented. So I don't know. There's no easy games from here on out. There's no easy games for anybody any week.
Has the conference gotten better, or what's? It seems like the past couple of years there haven't been as many teams that can actually contend for a conference championship. This year it seems much more wide open.
The conference probably got a little bit better once you saw Georgia Southern and Appalachian State go after different recruits, and that's what exactly happened. Is they opened up the conference for all these other teams to be able to compete, and now we're all being able to compete for the conference championship. We're all getting more wins and getting better recruiting and adding to our recruiting. So I think from that aspect, is the conference has gotten better with those teams moving up to FBS. I still think this is a solid conference for FCS. At any point, somebody's going to be able to win it, get the automatic bid, and I think we've got a chance to somebody's got a chance to make a run in the playoffs.
What do you remember most about last year's game with Sanford?
Probably Cam Jackson's run. Cam Jackson's run probably more than anything sticks out in my mind. A physical battle to the end, a back-and-forth battle. If I was being critical of myself, as there was a 4th down call right here that I probably remember that I wish I took back, and it was the one that put us back behind by 10 with about 6 minutes to play. If I had to do it all over again, I probably would have punted it away there, and I kind of let my emotions get in the way of that call. But those two calls, probably the biggest plays of the game for us, is the 4th down, which put us in a bad spot, in Cam Jackson's run.
Anyone else? Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I want to ask senior quarterback Dom Allen to come up. Now 19-6 as a starter at the Citadel, and at least for this team, the reigning SoCon Offensive Player of the Week, named that 2 weeks ago in the win over ETSU. We'll just open it to questions.
Dom, what do you think the bye week did for the guys coming off that tough stretch?
Like Coach Tom said, it definitely gave us some rest, get some guys off their feet a little bit. We'd been traveling quite a bit between the hurricane and then going up to ETSU as well. There's some pretty just long bus ride, a lot of hours on the buses. So it just gave guys a chance to relax, go home, spend some time with their families, just take a load off, which we really needed.
You told us before the season that you guys have been working on the pass game and you were going to throw the ball more. You did at ETSU. How different is that as an offense? And when you see it work out like that, how much really does it change what you guys can do?
It's nice because it gives us a chance to get down the field quicker. And score a little bit faster. It takes a lot more hits off of me too as well, which is always nice. But it's nice that it makes us a little bit more two-dimensional. That way teams aren't stacking the box up and making it hard for us to run the ball and ultimately doing what we want to do, which is run the ball and whatnot. But it was a great time. We had a great environment at ETSU, great facilities. They're a really great ball club. They've gotten a lot better since last year when we played them. They were really keen on what we were doing, so we had to mix it up a little bit, throw the ball a little bit more, and it ended up paying off for us.
Dom, have you felt pushed at all by Jordan in the early weeks here, and he's made you get better?
We definitely got a good thing going, me and Jordan. We try to help each other as much as possible. I try to tell him about all the little things the defense will do in order to kind of throw our minds a little bit out of whack, and just stay true to what our checks are and who our keys are. But yeah, no, he's been performing extremely well. He's been throwing the ball extremely well as also. So I'm just trying to keep up with him, trying to keep it going. That way we just have a smooth transition between whenever I come out and he goes in, or whenever he comes out and I go in.
I think it was like 3rd and 8 against ETSU, and you guys are trying to run the clock out and win the game, and the call comes in for the pass to Josh LeBlanc. Did that surprise you? Did it give you some confidence that they would turn to that play in that situation? And just your thoughts on that whole situation.
That's a play we had been working on for a while, especially all camp. So I'd felt really good with the timing between me and Josh on that. But we didn't want to give them the ball at all. In the last few minutes of the game, because we knew they were a throwing team and they could have the possibility of scoring quick and taking the lead over again or whatnot, and just putting it hard on us. So we didn't want to give them a chance at having the ball at all again. So it's just kind of going back out there. Play came in, and we got to run it, and I got to execute it. So everything worked out well. Josh made a great catch, got us down the field, and extended the drive for us.
Sanford was one of those emotional wins last year, pretty exciting one. Does that stuff carry over? Do you remember that when you get ready for this week, or make the emotions a little different maybe?
Every year is different. The game we played them last year was a lot different than when we played them 2 years ago. We went down there 2 years ago, and we played a really good game. I feel like we honestly just kind of dominated it a little bit. And then last year they come up here and they play us tooth and nail. It was a heck of a ball game to be at. Things change from year to year. ETSU, same thing happened to them last year. We kind of did our thing on them. Then this year, we had to come from behind. So, in the Southern Conference, you never know what could happen. Like Coach Thompson said, any team has a possibility of winning the conference or making a run in the playoffs. So we just got to be on our game every day, and then prepared for every weekend.
Dom, how do you keep track of what's happening in the league, and how interested are you in how the other teams are doing, or do you just wait for the tape to come? How does that work?
We'll usually, Coach D always likes to kind of put a little hype Facebook post up in our Facebook page, our team Facebook page. So I kind of get a little keen sense of what's going on. He put the conference scores up Sunday after our game, so I kind of knew what was happening. But for the most part, I'm more concerned about us. I'm more concerned about our guys executing and sticking true to our game plan and knowing their assignments inside and out. And when we get the film, that's when I start watching the film. But most of the time I'm just really concerned on us. Me and Coach Thompson are just sitting in his office brainstorming on what plays we can run, to what formations, what fronts. So, I'm never really too concerned about what's going on in the conference.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, our last cadet athlete to come up is sophomore defensive end Jalen Williams. Currently leads the Southern Conference in tackles for loss per game with 1.8. Jalen, you can come on up and take questions.
Jalen, have you surprised yourself with your performance so far this year?
I think I surprised myself a little bit. I didn't think that I would be in the situation I'm in, but that goes out to my defense, the linebackers behind me, my D linemen helping me make plays. I've kind of surprised myself a little bit.
Was Coach Thompson right in his assessment of you that you were a long ways off a couple years ago and you've kind of made yourself? Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. When I first came in, I was a little nervous. I didn't know how the culture change would affect me. I didn't know how the guys that were already here would accept me. I didn't know how I would accept them. But within the last couple of years, Coach Tesh, Coach Ward, they've brought me along the way. They've showed me what it means to be, a Bulldog. And, guys like Mitchell Jeter, Tevin Floyd, Miles Pierce, Kylie Williams, all of them instilled in me, that toughness and that physicality that we need to have on defense.
Just with the offense throwing the ball more in the game, I think they do that more in practice too. Does that help the defense? I mean, to prepare more because you're not facing a triple option team every week. So when they throw the ball more, does that affect anything for you guys?
Well, it gives us a little bit more of a chance to actually pass rush instead of practicing against a triple option offense all the time. So I think it does help us, a little bit more. It helps us, help defensive line. It helps us to, get our moves and stuff, whatever we decide to do. It gives our safeties, the keys they need to, pick up on when they do whatever they do back there. But it definitely helps us out a lot.
What's your mindset going into a game where the other quarterback's going to throw the ball probably 50 times or so?
Well, Coach Harrell always preaches, play your position, play your part. So I'm going to do my 111. I'm going to go in. I'm going to play my run funnies first because that's what I was taught. And if it just so happens that he just happens to throw the ball, which he is a passing quarterback, I will do my best to be, back there every play I can. So I'm just do my best.
Anyone else? All right, that'll do it for today. Thanks to all of you for coming. And Jeff, I know you need Jalen off on the side for a minute.